Welcome back to the Referral Mastery course. We're into session 6 of the course. Today we're going to look at handwritten notes. The steps toward mastery that you were meant to complete finally by today were, first of all, to phone through all of your advocates and prime them using the database primer dialog. So you should have got through all your phone calls now. Every successfully primed advocate then got a handwritten note from you, thanking them for their pledge of support. And then I also recommended that you start planning out your monthly newsletter for the next 12 months. And I gave you that ChatGPT script, all the prompts that you can paste in, together with a little video showing you how you can actually design the item of value yourself using PowerPoint or Keynote. Okay, so today, let's look at the apple tree just to reorientate ourselves. We've now finished with our discussions on the database itself. Yes, we're wanting to produce a repeat and referral business. In order to do that, we need a group of people that are loyal to us. In order to get that database ready, we build, sort, capture, and then prime that database. Now, that's where you should be in the process so far. We've also looked at 2 of the 6 dialogues that I'm going to teach you. The database primer dialog, obviously, that was the one. And then the other is a slight variation of that, the database filter dialog. And that's the one we spoke about last time. When you're meeting people consistently, and you should set yourself a goal of how many people that you add to your database every week. Like, I'm going to add 10 people to my database every week. I'm going to use that database filter dialog. Hey, if you were buying or selling your home, you had a friend or a family member who was, do you have an agent you'd refer them to? If they say no, you say, great, I've got a program. I keep people informed about what's happening in the property market. I'd love to keep in touch with you. How does that sound? Get their contact details. Okay, so your apple tree should look like that now if you're keeping it up to date. Today we are going to shift our attention over to the written communication tools, and I'm going to start teaching through those one by one. And the first tool we're going to look at is handwritten notes. Right, so handwritten notes may be a surprising topic for you because it's kind of old school. I don't know when last you wrote a handwritten note to someone. Maybe it was a birthday card. I don't know when last you got a handwritten note from someone that wasn't a birthday card, just kind of out of the blue, a handwritten note saying thank you for something, or just saying how much they love you, or whatever the case may be. And if you have received a handwritten note in any time that you can remember, how did that make you feel? And it's a weird thing because handwritten notes really do touch us. They make us feel very affirmed and loved and appreciated. And what I'm going to do is get you, hopefully as a business discipline, to begin using handwritten notes as one of the stock standard tools in your arsenal to be able to build relationships with people. So understand and apply this simple principle. There is no more powerful way to continually develop relationships with your advocates than to be sending personal handwritten notes regularly. And I say that from a number of perspectives. First of all, when someone gets a note from you, it has such a disproportionately strong impact on them emotionally when you compare it to how much it costs. How much is a handwritten note? You know, if you buy bulk handwritten notes, or even black and white, if you have them produced just with your little logo on them, that's fine. They don't have to be fancy. How much is each note going to cost you? So compared to how little they cost, they have a disproportionately powerful impact on people. And the second thing is how little time they take to write. You know, even the monthly newsletter takes some time. You got to draft, you got to design it. A handwritten note, I can literally grab one of the handwritten notes that's sitting on the edge of my desk. I can write the note and put the address on the front of the envelope and put a stamp on the envelope, and then put the card in the envelope and seal it and put it on the edge of my desk, which I'm going to put in my car and go and mail later. That can all be done in literally 3 minutes. And the power that this thing has on people when they receive it. So when I say there is no more powerful way, you know, what we're trying to do with our referral system is we're trying to build strong, trust-based relationships with a relatively large group of people, 300 people ideally, your advocates. Now, how do you do that? I challenge you to find me one technique that costs as little, that takes as little time, and is as powerful to develop trust and well-meaning with a large group of people consistently than handwritten notes. You will not find it. Okay, so I want to motivate for you the power of these things. It's amazing, actually. I use handwritten notes in my own business. I like to send them to my leaders regularly. It's amazing to me still, after all these years I've been teaching on handwritten notes, having learnt this from Brian Buffini, by the way. Brian was the champion of the handwritten note. It still amazes me when I send a note how often I get a WhatsApp now with a photograph of my note and a little thank you in the WhatsApp or the text message that they send me. So they read the note, it makes them feel so good, they take a pic of it with their phone, and then they send me a message with the picture saying, hey, look what arrived today, thank you so much, it means the world to me. And there's just one example. That was a note to Liz Nell, who actually has the biggest RevShare team in my whole group, and she was the top selling agent in South Africa a couple of years ago. She's a real superstar. She just sent me the little picture of my note, and in her message she said, look what I received today. Super special. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it. Then, very similar, here's a picture from Brad Neal. Brad is in the top selling agents in the whole of South Africa. We got at this point 1,300 agents, and he's one of the top selling agents. He's probably the best guy on open houses that I've ever met. And I've met tens of thousands of estate agents. He's incredibly strong with open houses, and he makes a fortune doing them. I sent him a little note, and he sent me the same. A pic. I'm not prompting this. These are just people deciding, hey, I want to take a photograph of this note, and I want to send it back to Stephen and say, thank you so much. I received it. It's just amazing how this touches people when you send them a handwritten note. Okay, so why do handwritten notes work so well? Let's just talk about that for a second. Well, they cut through every cocoon. Now, what is the opposite of someone coming to trust you? Remember, know, like, trust. That's what we're trying to build. Well, the total opposite of someone trusting you is someone who pushes you away and separates themselves. They protect themselves from you so you can't get through to them because they do not like you or trust you. Cocooning is a sociological phenomenon whereby people separate themselves from unwanted influence from people they don't know or people they don't want to hear from. Well, there are many examples of how people cocoon, how people separate themselves from unwanted intrusions into their life. And the first one is the physical cocoons. Physical cocoons are literally physical barriers that people put up between themselves and you. So I don't know what things are like in your neighborhood, but in my neighborhood there are high walls around every house. Door knocking is not what it used to be. You can't actually get to people's front door anymore. You've got to press the intercom button outside their front gate and kind of wait for someone to answer it, and generally they just kind of scurry you away. You don't even get to see the person face to face. That's a physical cocoon. And as we're going to see, handwritten notes cut through every one of the cocoons, including the physical cocoons. Handwritten notes are always opened. They're always opened. Can you imagine someone going through the mail at night, as we all do, standing over the trash can, and you're just throwing half the stuff away because it's just junk email in your mailbox, and you come across an envelope, there's a handwritten address on the front, there's a stamp, old school stamp, and I can feel there's a card inside. Can you imagine someone just going, and throwing it away? It will never happen. They are going to open this and see what it's all about. The next type of cocoon that people have in their lives are the intellectual cocoons. Intellectual cocoons are people saying, okay, you might force your way in to my field of vision, like a billboard on a freeway, for example, like banner ads on a website, like social media ads in your social media feed. They do force their way in, so they've kind of broken through the physical cocoons. They are now within eyeshot. But what we do is we don't even look at them. We just swipe straight past them, or you don't even look at the billboard on the freeway. You just keep driving. The intellectual cocoons are people saying there are too many messages coming at us. Too many real estate agents stuffing stuff in my postbox. Yes, there's a bunch of flyers in my postbox. I'm not even going to read them. How do we get people to actually intellectually engage with the message we have for them? Can you imagine someone, they're going through the trash going through the mail at night, throwing half the stuff away in the trash. They come across the envelope, they open it, okay. Now, the note pops open, kind of pops open automatically almost, and we see there's handwriting in the note, okay. Now, is the intellectual cocoon going to stop this person from reading that? Handwriting, what a waste of time, throw it away. Never in a million years. I don't care what happens to the world. And in fact, the more we go into technology and bulk WhatsApps and bulk SMS and bulk emails and bulk marketing messages, social media just going crazy, the more special this becomes. The more people will think, wow, that is so unusual. And then they read the note. Handwritten notes cut through the intellectual cocoons 100% of the time because they're always read. Then the next type of cocoon is the emotional cocoon that people have in their lives. These emotional cocoons, they stop people from actually feeling warm towards you. You might get your message through to me. You might even get me to listen to your message or hear it because I have to on a YouTube video. I've got to sit and listen to the ad for the first 5 seconds before I can skip. You're going to get through the physical and the intellectual cocoons, but you know what? I don't like you, I don't trust you, and I'm not going to buy what you're selling. People are guarded. They don't want to be interrupted. They don't want to be encroached upon. And emotionally, it is becoming more and more difficult to get people to open to you so that they feel warm towards you. Well, handwritten notes cut through the emotional cocoons. Why? Because handwritten notes always touch people emotionally. They give people the warm and fuzzies. This is a little note, the latest note I wrote. I actually wrote it to my mom. She's going through a hard time at the moment. Her husband has got dementia. So I've just wrote my mom a little note, written my mom a note. It just says, "Dear Ma, just a note to assure you of my prayers for you daily and for Saki. You're in the midst of one of the hardest things any spouse can go through, and your continued love and care for him is beautiful to witness. Stay strong. Love you, Stephen." I can tell you now, that's going to make my mom cry. Handwritten notes just have a way of getting through to people emotionally. I could send this to her on a text message, but it's not going to have the same impact. And then the final cocoon I want to talk about is the elimination cocoon. Okay, so yes, we can get our information through to people and perhaps they even read it and they feel nice about us, but you've reached the gold standard. If you can get the message you sent to someone once to stay with them for a long period of time. Because even if you get like a flyer of your latest listings or the latest sold properties and you send that out to your market, and they might pay to it because they're curious as to see like who sold what in the area. But what's going to happen by the time the sun goes down that night, that thing is going in the bin. What we want is for them to stick it on the fridge and keep it for the next 6 months so that every time they look at it, they think of you. Well, this is the weirdest thing about handwritten notes. When people have read the handwritten note and they've enjoyed the emotional impact it's had on them, it's made them feel special, it's not like a fast food meal where you've opened the container, you've eaten what's inside, now you throw the container away. It's not like that. Somehow the emotional impact this has had on them is still tied to the physical thing itself. And it's special to them and they can't throw it away. They get this guilt kind of feeling. They can't throw this away. It's so special. And so where does it go? It goes on the bookshelf. It goes on the fridge. It goes on the top of the computer. And I've often visited people and my note is still on their fridge 6 months after I sent it to them. So handwritten notes are often only thrown away months after they are received. Okay, so you might be having what I've always called a spasm of enthusiasm right now about, and I hope you are, about handwritten notes. I hope I've inspired you that these are the most incredible tools for real estate agents for whom building trust is a huge thing in their area. If you can consistently send a batch of notes every single day as part of the disciplines of your life, I'm telling you, you keep that up for a year, 2 years, 3 years, it will make you a fortune because so many people will be loyal to you because of the impact these things have had. So you might be having a spasm of enthusiasm. I'm going to buy some notes. I'm going to write some notes tomorrow. Okay, that's good. I'm glad. But Here's the cold, harsh reality of becoming successful with these things. To become successful by writing personal notes, you've got to write them. I remember someone shouting out in a seminar once, yourself. And I said, okay, that's a good start. You know, that guy had figured out the sort of shortcut he was going to be paying his teenagers to write handwritten notes from every day. I said, that's a good start. It's got to be personal, yes, but the words that I want in there are, you've got to write them every day. This has to become a daily discipline. It's got to become because I'm telling you what will happen is you'll write notes for a few days and then I've sent them this week, I've sent enough, I'll pick it up next week. You go a few days without writing them and you just lose the momentum. It's so foreign to our normal daily routine. You've got to do this every single day and create a lifelong habit of it. And the only way to do that is just do it every day. Okay, so steps toward mastery. For the next 2 weeks, I'm going to challenge you to do a specific exercise. You can forget about the rest of the referral system. For the next 2 weeks, here's what I want you to do. Number one, buy a stash of note cards with envelopes. Because you don't want to be hunting around for a note. You know, every day there needs to be the stash on your desk. You can just reach out your hand, grab it, and write one. You can't be like, oh no, I need to go get more for tomorrow. Get a whole stash of them. You can even have them produced yourself. Black and white is fine. Doesn't have to be fancy. It's the thought that counts with notes. So buy a stash of note cards and envelopes. Buy a stash of stamps. Now, I don't know, in your part of the world, if you still have to put a physical stamp on a note card if you post it. Well, if you do, go and get a bunch of stamps. And then my big goal for you over the next 2 weeks is write 5 handwritten notes every day for the next 2 weeks. Write 5 a day, every day for the next 2 weeks, 5 days a week. Okay, so 5 times 5 is 25 in the first week, 25 in the second week. That means by the time you watch the next video, you would have sent out 50 handwritten notes. Now, you may not get feedback already by the time we get 2 weeks later with the next session, but within the next 2 weeks after that, you're going to start getting feedback. Like I get photographs of my notes and little thank you text messages. Well, enjoy the process. You're going to touch a lot of people and make a lot of people feel very special with this exercise. So I trust that you do enjoy doing it. And then I look forward to seeing you in session number 7, where we're going to talk about items of value. God bless you, and I'll see you then. You know, not a lot of money compared to how much it's going to impact the person you send it to. And then the second thing is how much time it takes. Goodness me. I should leave that in the video. And the amount of frustration they cause you. I can write the note. Whatever you do, don't use handwritten notes as a technique in your business because they will drive you insane.